Welcome back to the Filthy Report. My name is Jason Filthy Jones, bringing you the dirtiest information with the cleanest style. UFC Fight Night, Brian Ortega versus the Korean Zombie. It's a wrap, so let's get into some fight talk. All right, guys. Now, on my breakdown, I didn't really go over this fight, and I feel like I should go over this fight because it has a little bit of meaning. First being that it's Thomas Almeida versus being Jonathan Martinez. Now, if you're a casual fan, you probably don't know about too much about Thomas Almeida. If you're kind of a hardcore or kind of a fan that catches a lot of decent fights, Thomas Almeida was a big thing a couple of years back. He was wrecking through the bantamweight division, knocking out everybody, putting them on their ass. And so he took off on a little bit of hiatus because he hit a losing streak and he was trying to bounce back from it. But not tonight. But the person I want to talk to tonight about is going to be Jonathan Martinez. He showed some phenomenal striking, some phenomenal ability to control the fight, control the pace. Pretty much never letting Almeida get off on his offense. Always pushing him back. Always making sure that completing the combination. And usually at the end of every single round, you would notice that Jonathan Martinez would pretty much finished the round super aggressive and just firing off shots and completing combinations every time. And every time you notice with Almeida, every single time that Almeida was throwing a punch or throwing a combination, at the end of his combinations, literally Martinez was slipping past the punches and not allowing Almeida to land any shots, which all the way from bell to bell, Jonathan pretty much beat Almeida always to the punch in every single fight, ending every single round just tough, hard, and making sure that he's continuing the same pressure on Almeida to pull off a unanimous decision. Now, the reason I'm speaking about this fight is because Jonathan Martinez is actually supposed to be on a 5-fight winning streak, but because of some bad decisions and because of some split decisions and just bad judging, he's literally now, I think he's only on a 2-fight win streak. But what I'm trying to tell you guys is that you probably are going to want to pay attention to him and seeing how he does. I'm pretty sure he'll be moving up through the top 15 into the top 10 soon in this next coming year. Other than that, just keep an eye out for Jonathan Martinez. He looked phenomenal. I know that Thomas Almeida was recently talking about before this fight, actually, before the fight began and everything, that he might be taking a look at him moving up to the 145-pound division because the weight cut's getting a little bit harder for him, and he feels that he has a little bit more energy and more power and more stamina in the 145 division. Moving on to the next fight, we got to get into this Modestas Bukauskas versus Jimmy Crute fight. Now, Jimmy Crute literally, in the breakdown, I said he needed to push the pace, getting Bukauskas against the fence and using the fence to take down Bukauskas. Jimmy threw that game plan out the freaking window right when he walked into that cage, showing that how dominating of a force he is now with his hands. He has really good hands, showed off really good striking. And at the main point of this, he showed off pinpoint striking. For him to literally throw his hands to push back Bukauskas, and then as Bukauskas is falling back into the fence, to throw a punch and literally land directly on his jaw and finishing off with a couple of more punches on the floor and rounding him out and knocking him out in the first round. What I do like about this fight, even though it was a short fight and Jimmy really showed that he had really nice hands now, is that I like how Jimmy went about his call out. He's calling out Misha, who is a guy that's really not going to turn down a fight. Very hard fighter, very gritty fighter. And I also like it that because Misha's I think he's in the top 10 and he's ranked number 10. So it's a good call out for Jimmy. Gives him a little bit, gets his feet in the door of the top 10. Also gives him a look at it, maybe the top 10, the top 13. Also know Johnny Walker is right there. Could be a nice shot for him to try to get at Johnny Walker and knocking him off of the chopping block real quick. But we'll see how it goes. Props out to Jimmy Crute. Props out with his hands, and props out being a devastating fighter in the lightweight. And we'll see how he does breaking into the top 10. Moving on from there, we have to go with the co-main event, and that's going to have to be Katlyn Chookagian versus Jessica Andrade. Now, once again, short fight, but pretty much played out the exact same way that I thought it would play out. Caitlin, to me, kind of took Jessica for granted, thinking that just because she was moving up to 125, that she was a one-dimensional fighter. She didn't have the real skills to try to take her out, not understanding that if Jessica gets in on her, that she would cause devastating damage. Jessica said that she had noticed, her and her coach had noticed that during her Caitlin Jakagan's weight cut, that she had drained herself out of a lot of weight and cutting down, and saying that the body shots would probably be devastating blows that she wouldn't be able to handle. So in the first round, Caitlin was kind of pushing the pace, trying to get Jessica to back up, but Jessica wasn't backing up. She was moving lateral, moving her head side to side, being able to dip in and get in tight conditionings, and able to throw that hard body shot. And when she threw that body shot and saw Caitlin back off and freeze and wince in pain, she smelled blood in the water and literally charged at her and rushed at her and threw that hard hitting body shot again in the same exact spot, putting Caitlin out. Now, I don't feel that I'm completely with everybody saying that Jessica should be shot up and give Valentina Shevchenko a fight. I think maybe one more fight, maybe two more fights, and we see how Jessica does, to see if she can last in there for 5 rounds, to see if she's able to handle basically the top 5 of the division. I do like that it's another contender. I do like that she has the advantage of trying to move into the top 5 of the division. But let's play it out and see a little bit more. We also know Valentina is going to be fighting Jennifer Mai in I think December. She'll be fighting. Yeah, I think it's December. I'm not too sure on the card, but we do know the card's coming up soon, and we'll see how that fight goes, which I kind of going to go with Valentina anyways. It's kind of hard. She's ahead of the curve ridiculously in her weight division. She's one of the best all-round female fighters. She's right there. I probably put her second pound per pound women's fighter, right underneath Amanda Nunes. But we'll see how that goes. Jessica Andrade, I give her props. She came out and showed that her power is even devastating in the 125 division. With that, let's get into this main event. Brian Ortega versus the Korean Zombie. Now, this fight was a complete shocker. I did not believe that Brian was going to come out there like this. He answered every single question, but also put another question in people's mind. Is ring rust a real thing? Because 2-year hiatus, came off of a loss, showed that he couldn't be defeated, showed that he still has determination, showed that he still has focus, and he now has a striking arsenal that is unbelievable. Brian was literally beating Korean Zombie to every single punch, able to outclass him in every single way, cutting him off, making sure that he kept tapping on that leg, trying to devastate the leg with leg kicks, trying to devastate his body with leg kicks, being able to throw the hands, elbows, whatever. He was a very unorthodox fighter that was able to switch stances and change up his game completely. But the one thing that showed me the leaps and bounds that Brian Ortega has made is the type of game plan that he used. He showed that he was a very good high-level mixed martial artist by going in there, tapping Korean Zombie's leg to show that he has takedowns, to keep Korean Zombie guessing if he was going to go for a takedown or if he was going to outstrike him or keep him out on the outside or keep him in tight. There was no answer at all from bell to bell, and which led Brian to leading into getting a complete unanimous decision. Now, the one thing that's extremely crazy to me to this is for a guy to come back from a 2-year hiatus and basically walk in, do a dominant fight like that, and now is going on to fight for a championship. I can't wait to see how this goes. I see that he's going to cause a lot of problems for Volkanovski. I think Alexander Volkanovski is in a lot of trouble with Max. One being the height. The second thing also being that Max has developed on learning how to strike at his length, using his height and his reach advantage to his advantage completely, making sure that people stay on the outside and that he's able to cut them off. I see that a problem for Volkanovski because Volkanovski is a lot shorter than than Brian. And then the other thing is, as much as Volkanovski is a good wrestler, he does not have the submission game that Brian Ortega has. Brian Ortega has a phenomenal submission game. We know this because he trains with Gracie Jiu-Jitsu in Torrance, California. His main coach is Henry Gracie. There's just a lot of skills that Brian Ortega holds that he's able to really hold above Alexander Volkanovski. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is I do think that they're going to end up going with the Korean Zombie versus Max Holloway. And I want to see who comes out the winner of Volkanovski, because to me, I wouldn't mind seeing another match with Max. This is a completely different Brian. He's completely revamped his camp, revamped his training style, and he's really training like a pro. He is an elite athlete now that has a complete open arsenal with taking these 2 years off. I think the 2-year layoff was the best thing for him because he got a lot of good training in. His whole camp has shown that they can mesh together and work together. And the biggest thing was there with Henry not being there, Brian had no problem. His striking was on point. His cardio was on point. He didn't even look tired after 5 rounds. I can't wait to see where this is. The sky's the limit with them. So we'll see how that goes. And going on from there, I have to talk about Lomasinko versus Lopez, the boxing fight. Unbelievable boxing fight. 12 rounds of complete madness. And I have to give it to Lopez. He boxed his ass off, making Lomasinko look like he didn't have any offense to offer. Even when Lomasinko started turning it on, Lopez just gave him hard shots back, giving him the significant hints that he needed to get on Lomasinko to win it by a complete decision and becoming the undisputed lightweight champion of boxing. Where do we go from here? We'll see. I do feel that it was a great boxing match, but it sucks to see where it ended and how it went, because after a couple of days, like, Lomasinko has already been removed off of the pound for pound list. Guys, I do like boxing. I like high level boxing. I like watching boxing, but we all have to admit boxing's kind of corrupt and it's on a downward sprawl. I hope they can bounce back, and I hope they get some good matches for Lopez. I'm still hoping and praying that it happens. Not sure if it's going to happen, the Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury fight, or the Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury fight. But that's boxing. I'll talk about them when I find some good boxing matches that I like to watch. But shout out to Lopez. He is the lightweight king right now. All right, guys. Let's get into this UFC 254 breakdown of Khabib versus Gaethje. And at the beginning of the main card, we have Ion Kutalabov versus Magomed Ankalaev. And this is a grudge match. Kind of a weird grudge match because they have had their match before, and it was ruled a KO or TKO Kutalabov because he was playing possum, making it seem like he was rocked. Ref made a bad decision, and so from there they are redoing the match, and it's a nice match at light heavyweight, but this will be the third time for this match. They've been trying to put it on. It's been cursed with COVID, injuries, all kinds of stuff. Hopefully the match goes on. Who do I have in the fight? Magomed Ankalaev, because he has better striking, a little bit better of a ground game. I do like Kutalabov because he does have a lot of power in his hands, but he's going to have to come in on Ankalaev, and I just don't see him being able to take him to the ground and literally pound him out. I don't see his submission game being as good as Ankalaev. So we'll go from there. And from there, the next match coming up will have to be Walt Harris versus Alexander Volkov. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure about this, but I think the last time I saw Volkov was probably against Derek Lewis, and he was basically winning that fight and then got put into his misery by the biggest knockout of Derek Lewis because of his balls being hot. Other than that, with Walt Harris, we all know, and I feel for the man. I feel like everybody's pulling for the man, because especially after the tragic year that he had last year with his daughter, all kinds of issues. I don't even really want to touch that. I'm really, truly sorry about his daughter. It fucking sucks, and it's just sick and ridiculous. I don't even want to get too much into it. But I would like to see Walt Harris bounce back. I think he has really good striking. He has a lot of good power. Has really good wrestling. Moves very well. Cardio's pretty decent. We just have to see how he's gonna do with this length and this height and the kind of kickboxing that Volkov brings. I mean, he's a very good kickboxer. He was a Bellator champion before. He usually likes to stay on the outside, likes to keep you in the center and just putting a pace on you with kicks and punches continuously. And if he gets to the point where he can get you to the ground, he'll try to ground and pound you out. Where do I see this fight going? I don't know. It's a kind of a toss-up. I kind of see Volkov being able to come out on top with his striking, but if Walt Harris is able to take him down and put his weight on him, I feel like he can ground and pound out Volkov. Walt Harris has a lot of power in his hands, and he's able to put anybody out. It just depends on what kind of Walt Harris shows up that night. But I am pulling for Walt Harris, so I hope this goes really good for him. Moving on from there, we have none other than the co-main event, which is one of the biggest co-main events for the middleweight division. That being because it's Robert Whittaker, the former champ, versus Jared Cannonier. And we already know there's a lot of tie to this because of Israel Adesanya. He said that if Jared Cannonier could get past Robert Whittaker with a definite stoppage, meaning submission or knockout, that Jared Cannonier would be the next up for grabs for the belt. How do I see this one playing out? I just really see that I think people are really overlooking Robert Whittaker, not understanding the kind of pace that he puts on you and the kind of well-rounded fighter that he is. He has really good wrestling, really good jiu-jitsu. His hands are really good. He has heavy hands. His boxing is phenomenal. And he has some pretty decent kicks. Jared Cannonier has a lot of power. It's just hard to go with Jared Cannonier because, one, he always usually finishes his fights early. So if Whittaker can weather the storm and be able to take the shots or be able to slip the shots, I'm pretty sure he can be able to give a shot back. I'm going to go with Robert Whittaker in this fight. I just feel that he has a better all-round skill, and he's going to be able to put the pace on Jared Cannonier and make him back up and freeze up, and then they'd be able to put him out. Other than that, I don't see Robert Whittaker going for another title shot against Israel yet. They'll probably give him another 1 or 2 fights, and we'll see how it goes from there. Jared Cannonier will probably have to do another fight to bounce back if he loses. And just letting you guys know, it's going to be a good fight. I will say that. It will be a good fight. If it doesn't end quickly, it's going to be one of those kind of slobber knocker fights, and we all know how Robert Whittaker gets. And Jared Cannonier, once again, has knockout power in either hand off of one shot. Now, as we get into this main event, it's kind of hard to break down this main event. Reason being, it's Khabib Nurmagomedov, and he's undefeated. He's 28-0, undefeated. It's hard to pick against him because we pretty much know his game plan. He's going to drag you down the floor, ragdoll you, and just take control of you and beat the shit out of you. And that's what he's known for. He really hasn't lost a round unless he gives up a round, or the one round that he lost to Conor McGregor, which is a toss-up because people said that he kind of let Conor get that round. We don't know. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not even going to get into that conversation about him and McGregor. But with this fight, it's a little bit different because as much as I want to lean and say, you know, it's Khabib all the way, it's hard to not notice the kind of difficulty that Justin Gaethje brings towards Khabib. Justin Gaethje has really good wrestling, even though he never uses it. He has very good defensive wrestling. He doesn't use offensive wrestling, and his hands are freaking heavy and they're pinpoint. He's tightened up his game. The other thing with him is also his kicks. You can never forget his kicks. If he can land pretty much 2 to 3 decent leg kicks on you, your leg is going to be eaten up like shit. And at that time, takedowns are insignificant because if you're not able to deal with the pressure or put the weight on the leg, there's no way you're going to be able to take somebody down. So, I mean, it all depends on who gets the first shot off, if Justin Gaethje can defend the shot. I mean, you guys have heard all the analysts. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard everybody talking about it this week, is that I have never really seen anybody to really take Justin Gaethje down. But the other thing is I've never really seen anybody damaging Khabib's legs or putting the pace on him, because most people are scared to kick on Khabib because he can catch your leg and actually take you down with his kind of chain wrestling and the way he controls you on the floor. It's a toss-up in this match. I feel like it's a pick-em match. I really don't have a choice in this. I just really want to see the match. I think it's a really good match. I wouldn't go against you if somebody said they're going for Justin Gaethje. I wouldn't go against anybody that's going to say that they're going for Khabib. I just think it's going to be one of the best lightweight fights out there, and let's see how it goes. I do think if Gaethje can get past the first round, actually let's say the second round, if he can get past the first and second round of not being taken down, it could be a fight in his favor. If Gaethje can get his kicks off early on Khabib, it could also be in his favor. But we all know that Khabib is going to get the person down to the floor. It all depends on, can Justin work his way up back off the floor and getting back to stand up and being able to keep the stand up going and making sure that Khabib is not able to take him down. 1 or 2 shots, cool, but if he gets stuck on the floor early in the rounds, I don't see how he's going to break out of it. It's kind of like, once again, it's kind of hard to go against him. But other than that, please make sure you guys watch the fight. The fight's going to be a phenomenal fight. I can't wait for it to pop off. It's been a fight that everybody's been waiting to watch. It's the last fight on Fight Island for right now, as they close out with one of the biggest main events of the year. And like that, guys, like always, let's get into some news. And I don't know if you guys have heard the biggest talk, especially since this is the fight that's going on with Khabib and Justin Gaethje. The biggest talk right now is Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor 2. Now, if you guys remember in my last breakdown and my recap of everything, I kept talking about, like, what weight are they doing this at? Now, Khabib has came out and showed his direction of he's going to control how this event goes with Conor McGregor, if he's going to get another title shot at the lightweight title or not. He said if Dustin and Conor are fighting at 170, there's no point for him to even think about getting a title shot at 155, that he needs to just move on and forget about it and bye-bye, and the fight between him and Conor will never happen again. So with me, I believe that the fight should be at 155. If Conor really wants to go after the 155 belt again, he needs to fight at 155. I think that would be the best advantage for him and Dustin, because it moves the rankings. It shows people where it can go. And trust me, this is not going to be any typical fight. I'll get into more of the breakdown as the fight gets closer, like I said before. But this is not going to be an easy fight for Conor, and it's not going to be an easy fight for Dustin. But I will tell you guys this. Dustin is a complete different fighter now. So we'll see how it goes. I'm hoping that it's going to be at 155. And with that, let's move on to the other parts of the news. I don't know if you guys have heard, there's been a little issue going on with James Krause and Joaquin Buckley. I guess they come from the same area, but a lot of people aren't down with Joaquin Buckley because he has kind of from what people have reported, he has kind of like an arrogant attitude. He feels very big-headed. And James Krause didn't want him training at his gym, so James Krause said, "Yeah, man, he'll move up to middleweight if Joaquin Buckley wants to take that fight. He can get that all day." And he said that's an easy paycheck for him all day. Kind of like the grudge match. Wouldn't mind seeing it. James Krause is a phenomenal fighter. Most people don't know him, but he's a phenomenal coach and a phenomenal fighter. If you guys look into his background, he coaches a lot of fighters, but he's also able to fight in the UFC too. And he coaches a lot of high-level fighters. So we'll see how it goes. I wouldn't mind seeing the match. Don't know really what it does for Kraus. It doesn't really move him in the rankings or anything like that. But I don't think Kraus is actually chasing after belts right now. I think he just likes to compete, and we'll go from there and see how it goes. Also, I told you guys last time, if you guys didn't catch last time, December 12th, we have Peter Yan and Aljamain Sterling. Aljamain Sterling is going up against Peter Yan for the bantamweight title. Also, they just announced the rematch of Tisha Torres versus Angela Hill on that same fight card. Other than that, not much else going on in the news. Like always, guys, please like and subscribe and share the Filthy Report. Let's get me out there. Let's get the Filthy Report out there so we can get these subscribers. And hey, man, I'll be making these videos continuously for you guys. And like always, I am Jason Filthy Jones, bringing you the dirtiest information with the cleanest style. Till next time, guys. Peace.